Hi, this is Unimagination, and I am in the process of setting up here. I have been, this is a topic that is not easily, it's a tender subject. Every time I talk to people on this, every time I see it, it's absolutely out of control, and it's at a point where I'm like, okay, I've got to say something. It is regarding the let's talk about talking about our trauma. And this is a concept that came from, well, talk therapy. And this is where I followed the monkeys and I did what everybody else did. And then I realized it was causing me more trauma than good. It was actually re traumatizing me. And we have this one school, and I'm just going to get right into the logic of it because this is what it is when we are given a sentence equals logical code. Let's call it a logical command, okay? When you are given a sentence, it is actually a logical command. This is logic 101. And when you are told something like you need to talk about your trauma, that immediately leads to the logical command talk about trauma. So then, without any kind of governance or discernment, we talk about our trauma. We're on Facebook talking about our trauma. We're trauma dumping all over the place. And that is because some jackass psychologists decided to use the phrase talk about your trauma without any logic, without any comprehension, that you just gave everybody in the world a logical command. So now we all went from never talk about your trauma to let's talk about our trauma. This is called black and white thinking. This is where so what you really want to do is use your logic carefully. That way you are not. So this is actually what's going on. It's not that you should not talk about your trauma. It's more the purpose. And more specifically, it's the goal or why we talk about our trauma. And this is it right here. This is it right here. The reason why we talk about our trauma is because we are trying to correct the logical progression. That's it. We have a fault in our logical progression and we need to correct it. That is why we talk about our trauma. It is not talking about the trauma that's the goal. It's you need to understand. And we have this, and it's our relationship and our understanding of what understanding is. Literally, it's understanding what understanding actually is. And this is where a lot of people are confused because they haven't studied logic. So understanding is literally the order. I'm just going to write it down right in here in the video description so you guys get the walkthrough. So understanding is the logical progression, hi Liz, of events for comprehensive purposes. Okay. This is what understanding is. It is, I have my logical comprehension in the right sequence. I have my logical comprehension. Actually, I have my logical, let's just put in a blank for now because I can't think of the word. In the correct sequence, which is order. That's it. And you've restored, so you are looking to restore the sequence, the logical sequence. That is what you are doing. Now, there are three types of logical sequence. There is false logical sequence, which is called a lie. There is just a gap, the gap of logical sequence. That is a placeholder. Yes, please. Thank you, dear. Thank you, sweetheart. So you have a gap of logical sequence, and then you just have the wrong order. That's it. Those are your three options. So you either have a false logical sequence, a gap of logical sequence, or it's just in the wrong order. That is it. So when you are talking, when you talk, you are trying to do math. There it is right there. When you are talking, you're actually trying to do math. Now, you do not need to talk to everybody in the world to do this. This is actually something you should be doing with a calculator, some math, and some paper. And you should be sitting down and doing your fucking math. That's what this is. You need to be doing your math. But people aren't doing math. They're going to therapists, they're going to confessionals, they're talking to people, they're telling everybody in the world, but they're not doing the math. And what you're really doing is you are locating the logical comprehension, you are locating the order in the sequence, and you are correcting the false ones. You're identifying the false ones and putting the right ones in. This is logic and math. And if you don't have logic and math, you don't know to do this. Psychologists don't know to do this because those dipshits didn't study logic and math. Now, they noticed, literally, they noticed that when people talk, eventually they figure this out. So it's helping, but they don't know why it's helping, because they didn't study logic and math. This is what I figured out when I went through it, and I was able to go, well, this is just logic and math. All I'm doing is literally putting it in the right sequence. And then I was able to break down the sequence and go, oh, look, there's an algorithm. And then I followed the algorithm and boop, all my mental illnesses are cleared in 1 year because I know the algorithm. Oh, I just got to put my thoughts in the right order. So that's what you're doing. You are literally putting your thoughts in the right order. So we're going to write that down. You are just putting your thoughts in the right order. Now, when you do that, you understand. You don't need everybody to understand you. You need to understand you. And this is where you project your need to be understood onto everybody else. No one else needs to understand you. You need to understand you. I'm gonna write this down, and I'm gonna add this to the thing. And this is really at the crux of all of this, is you need to understand you. Do not project your need to understand you onto others. Now, when I say the word project, this is a physics word. This is a physics word. It is a physics concept. How many of you have studied physics? So when you're talking around and you're saying stuff like, well, you know, you're projecting. Have you studied physics? Because you really need to study physics and projections to understand what a projection actually is and what's really going on in a projection. And this is where, this is projection is, this is physics. You need to understand you. I'm going to say again here, you need to understand physics projection to understand what's really going on. And what's really going on with physics projection is you should not be projecting. What you should be doing, I got to think here, because you don't want a projector. What you want is a camera. Let me think. Because this is where you're getting into optic physics. This is where optic physics starts to fuck around with your projection physics. Literally, that is it, is your projection physics. Your projection physics is replaced by your optic physics, which is a branch of projection physics, is a branch of optic physics. It's absolutely a branch of optic physics. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. Well, that's it. That's it right there. Is stop projecting, go to optics. That's it right there. It's not optic physics. I know what it is. It's your mirror physics. That's it. Lizzie, do you know where my physics book is? Oh, I got it right here, hon. Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, let me just go over this quick like here. Okay, let me go over to mirrors, because this is literally all about mirroring. This is 100% about mirroring. But if you don't know that you're mirroring, you don't know how to use your mirror. And this is all about you learning how to use your mirror. You want to know how to do anything with your own mind, study physics. Your mind is pure physics. Mirrors. Mirages. You said the magic word. Mirage is in physics. Oh yes. Let's do this. Mirages, reflection, refraction, and dispersion. Yup. So yeah, I know where I am now. I know where I am. Mirages. Yep. Mirages is when you basically, yep. This is it. All right. So reflection, refraction, and dispersion. Oh, yeah. Is 100% the subconscious mind. This is all it is. Yep. No prerequisites. Chapters 10 and 11 are suggested. That's nice. See, this is why I love physics, is because physics knows that learning is sequential. So it's included. It's like you cannot understand this chapter unless you have the prerequisites for these chapters. Like, thank you. See, this is why I love physics. It's smart. All right. Reflection, refraction, and the dispersion of light. There it is. Mirror. Okay. So when we say projection, we're actually talking about, yes, Liz. This is earth science. You mean physics is inside earth science? Yes, physics is inside everything, sweetheart. Physics is everywhere. Yes. See here. Refraction. Give me just a moment here. So when you are looking at a projector, you are actually looking at reflection. And you forget that you are, and that's just it, is let's go reflection, not mirror. So you need to look up reflection, and that's the problem. Is your projector, here you go. Your projector, you've confused your reflection with your projector. That's it. Instead of reflecting, you're projecting. You got your reflector confused with your projector. And that's it. That is exactly it. And that's it right there. That is it right there. Your reflector is confused with your projector. That is your problem. You're going to need to study physics to understand that. It's not hard. It's high school physics. Like, they teach this shit to 14-year-olds. That's how easy this stuff is. What? I learned that in 6th grade. She learned it in 6th grade. She was 12. Okay. If a 12-year-old can do it, you can too. Like, this is not hard, people. 12-year-olds do this. That being said, yeah, like the belief that science is hard is get rid of that fucking shit. Science is not hard. It requires prerequisites. If you don't have the prerequisites, yeah, everything's hard. And you've got to learn in the right order. That's it. You just weren't learning in the right order because teachers are really stupid. So I have a mathematical course, literally. It's mathematics demystified. Let me go ahead and grab that and I'll drop it down in the thing below. And this course literally is the plug-in for everything that you should have learned in school that replaces, or it doesn't, it's the foundation of math. You never learn the foundation of math, which is why physics is hard, if physics is hard to you. And without it, you're not going to, you must have this. So you basically just have a really shitty educational system that did not give you the education in the right order. And it did not give you, you literally have gaps. See, we're back to this again. Logic. You need gaps. You cannot have gaps. You cannot have false information, and you cannot have it out of order. If you have those three things, any of those three things, it's going to be hard. It's going to mess up your comprehension. It's going to fuck things up because they've messed up your logic. Logic is the correct, I'm going to write that down. Just give me a minute here. So first I'm going to drop in this link. So this is the link for get the math plugin. I'm going to call it a math plugin that you need for your math comprehension. That is going to take all of the hard out of math. Literally, this takes the hard out of math. My daughter read it and she was like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense. It's like, yeah. So logic consists of these three things right here. Logic is correct. We call this true. Logical sequence, truth. So the correct logical sequence, actually it's logical data, not sequence, it's data. So you have to have the correct logical data. Let me go up here and change this one thing here. Data. So false data. So you need to make sure you have the correct data. You need no gaps. You cannot have any gaps of logical sequence. and it must be the right order. That is logic. Logic is when you have the correct data, no gaps, and the right order. That is all that logic is. That's it. It's making sure you have the correct data, you have no gaps, and you have it in the right order. That's all that logic is. That's it. So either you have data that's false, immediately it's not logic. You are now lacking logic. You don't have it in the right sequence. Well, now you don't have logic. You have no, what did I just say? Right order, gaps, and you have false information. Now you know logic. That's all it is. It's the ordering of information. It's literally the ordering of information. That is all logic is, the ordering of information. So when you are talking about your trauma, what you really need to be doing is applying logic to your brain. That's all you're doing. Your logic is missing. Your logic is missing. That's it. So you can't understand because your logic is missing. So when you put your logic back, it corrects the problem. But instead of doing logic and math, you're talking about your trauma. You're talking about all your problems. And this is where this logical code. So when you put a sentence out in the world, you are actually putting a logical command out in the world. So whenever a professional or some asshole comes along and gives you a logical command, if it's the wrong logical command, everyone's going to do the exact extreme opposite. You don't want the extreme case. You don't want to switch that pendulum over. So now you've got people who are like throwing out logical codes all over the place. And no one's saying you got to ask the right question. Thank you, Douglas. You also have to make the same statement, because the brain is going to translate it all very literally and precisely, because that's what the subconscious mind does, because the subconscious mind is pure logic. So when you hear something like blueberries will extend your life, no, they won't. That is a shit logical statement. No, they do not. That is an extreme statement. So now everyone buys blueberries and gorges themselves on blue. It's called monkeys. You hear something and it's immediately, let's take it the extreme, and just, it's the dumbest thing in the world, because people don't understand how logic works. So you can't just throw we call that a quantifier. The words all, or literally it's a quantifier. Is it called a quantifier? I feel like it's another word. Give me a minute. I have to examine the logic on this. It's basically an absolute. And yeah, quantifier. Yeah, it is called. Let me just. I gotta check. I see. This is logic. This is what you would do. So quantifier definition. Yep, in logic, it's an expression. Also, yeah, that's correct. All right, so it's a quantifier. I am correct. Okay, so it's a quantifier. It is 100%. Now, there's two kinds of quantifiers. There are literal quantifiers and there are implied quantifiers. Implied quantifiers is what the media is really good at. Dumb fucks. So some asshole writes an article. Mozart increases your child's intelligence. No, it doesn't. Read the entire data. Read the entire abstract. It was funny because I read a follow-up. So it was like, I don't remember when, it was decades ago, that somebody did an experiment and a news media came out with an implied quantifier. And sure enough, all these parents ran to Mozart. And good God, the media has a leash on you guys, and it just drags you all over the place. And when you understand what quantifiers are and how they are literal or implied. Now, this is something I love is there are people who police quantifiers, the quantifier police. I hate quantifier police. I really do. And the reason why I hate quantifier police is because, where do I even begin? In the abstract, we use quantifiers as metaphor. Quantifiers are metaphorical in the abstract. Quantifiers are metaphorical in the abstract. Now, I am a firm believer that they are supposed to be metaphorical, because this prevents black and white thinking. So when I say, well, I would never say all dogs are black, because that's just stupid. But if I were to say everything that's happened to me up to now, well, that's just black and white thinking. Give me a minute. I use it for emphasis sometimes. Sometimes is a quantifier. And I use it for emphasis. And I think that's really it, is quantifiers can be used literally and metaphorically. And it is a very black and white concept of I'm going to take this quantifier literally 100% of the time. Well, what about the times they're used for metaphors? And a lot of us use them for metaphors. You have some people who they do use them for metaphors. And then you've got literal concrete thinkers going, no, 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 no. And this is where you get into something I call, well, concrete thinker abuse, where concrete thinkers are absolutely unforgiving about the metaphor of a quantifier. And then I'm sitting here with my logical brain going, but aren't words precise and shouldn't you be using the precision of words? Yes, it should. So what are you doing using the precision of words, metaphorically speaking? Because the metaphor of speaking allows the rigidity of words to settle down. And when you're speaking in metaphor, it allows you to relax and free yourself from the rigidity. Because having that extreme of everything's got to be literal all the time is too rigid. But having that nice mix up of I'm going to speak metaphorically as a quantifier for emphasis as opposed to literally taking me seriously. Don't do that. There's that gorgeous ebb and flow of moderation. I'm going to do a little bit of both, a little bit of back and forth. That way we're not black and white. We are regulated. And it gives us this break and this freedom from literal. And I'm not sitting here saying this is my opinion. That's not at all the same thing. What it is saying is I don't want the rigidity. No, this is what it is. This is exactly what it is. There is a period of definition where you don't know I call this stage exploratory dialogue. Exploratory dialogue is when you are trying to sculpt your thought. Sculpting your thought is vital to defining it. Now, once you've defined it, you're into the world of literal and there's no coming back. But you have to first go through the metaphorical stage of sculpting the thought. This is the stage of linguistics. This is really what it comes down to. It starts off with a feeling, and you can't quite define the feeling. So you need to enter a stage of exploratory dialogue in order to figure it out, sculpt it. Now, you cannot be literal in this stage. You cannot be literal in this stage because you are in the process of sculpting. You don't know what you're dealing with. So you've got to use quantifiers and metaphor, and it's purely exploratory dialogue is purely a metaphorical stage. It starts off with a feeling, you step into the world of metaphor, and you sculpt. You try and define and figure out what you're trying to say. Now, once you have the right words, you simplify it into literal meaning, and that is when your literal meaning becomes hard clay. But while you're in the exploratory dialogue stage, you cannot be taken literally. And this is one of the things I do with my own podcast, where every time I come here, I make it clear this is literal, this is metaphorical, this is something I'm working through, this is hypothesis. And what I'm saying is I am in the stage of literally trying to figure shit out. So I cannot be literal because I'm literally sculpting. And that when I'm finally done and I've sculpted and I have figured it out, I go over to my website, I drop in the science, I explain it. Now it's literal. Now I move it over into my courses. So my courses are all my literal stuff that's proven by science. It's all there. It's literal. It's precise. It's simplified. It's clear. But if it's hypothesis, it sits right here in the metaphorical stage of I'm trying to figure this shit out. Let's sculpt it through. Now we are intolerant of the metaphor. We are intolerant of that sculpting stage where we're trying to figure shit out. And this is a problem where when you're in that feeling stage, you cannot go from feeling right over to hardcore literal. There is a stage here of exploratory dialogue sculpting. And that's where metaphor lives. That is exactly where metaphor lives. And until you figure out what you're actually dealing with, you cannot speak literally. Literally has to be birthed from metaphor. And that's it. This is all abstract. When you are in exploratory dialogue, you are hypothesizing, you are exploring, you are a pioneer. And this is the same thing scientists go through. And part of this process is, we got a morphology steps in. Now you've got to morph. I got to think. Nope. Now you've got to use the word, figure out the next word, build the word that you need, and then put it into application. There was no word for exploratory dialogue. I invented that like 10 years ago. So I could go in and say, I'm using dialogue to explore this concept. Exploratory dialogue is what you do during talk therapy. That's it exactly. Exploratory dialogue. You are playing around with the abstract. Now, what you're really doing in that stage is you are literally cutting through your logical shit and you're putting it in the right order. You actually have no logic. If you had logic, then you would have comprehension. You need to have your comprehension. No one else needs that shit from you. You are the one who needs it. You've confused your reflection with your projection. Stop doing that. You should not be telling everybody in the fucking world about all of your problems. You should not be. It's not for everybody else in the world to understand. And what we're doing is we're using vocabulary to try and connect with people. The problem is you're not in a stage to connect with people. If you're in the exploratory dialogue stage of trying to sort out your logic and math, you have no fucking business trying to make friends. You need to figure your shit out first because your friends are now being subjected to your healing process. That's not right to them. That is not right to them. You need to have an established friendship prior to that. And if you don't have one, a lot of people don't. I sure as fuck didn't. A lot of people did not. And suddenly you're in a position where you need to go through your healing and you're going to be doing it alone. This is what we mean by you got to do it alone. Because at the end of the day, this is about you, logic, and math, and you sitting your stupid fucking ass down with a book and doing the fucking math. And that there's just nothing else to it. You're wasting your time. You're fucking around if you are not doing the logic and the math. I've had people ask me, isn't there an easy way? Yeah, it's called logic and math. That's the easy way. But a lot of people aren't doing the logic and math. They're fucking around. They're talking. They are literally spending 14 years trying to figure shit out because they don't know how to do logic and math. And what you are doing, what's going on, is you and your ledger line. It is your relationship with your ledger line. We talked about this yesterday. And when you are working through your ledger line, you are correcting the sequence. That's what you're doing. You are correcting the sequence. This is mental health with your logic line. This is all it is. Your mental health is in relativity to your sequence. So you're correcting the sequence with logic. That is what you are doing when you are healing. You are just correcting your sequence with logic. But if you don't have logic, it's going to take you decades. It's going to take you years if you even figure it out. With math and logic, you'll have it done in a few weeks, depending on how good you are at math and logic. Now, math and logic are intuitive. It's already inside of you. So when you understand the learning process, which is integrated, listen to the words, integrated tuition. Google the word tuition. Look at the second definition. Integrated tuition is intuition. This is why you need linguistics, so you can figure logic out. So with linguistics, you can figure logic out because the sequence of this is linguistics, logic, and math. If you suck at linguistics, you're going to want theater and stage and poetry. That is the foundation of linguistics. Everything has a foundation. Everything has a foundation. There is nothing in this world that does not have a foundation. We use words like influence. Influence means I have a foundation of X. All learning is foundational. All learning. It's why I call them foundationals, is because they're at the foundation of our society, because they're at the foundational stage of learning and they haven't moved beyond the foundation. Most people have not. No one has moved beyond the foundation. And if they have moved, most everybody has skipped the cultivation stage. And there's a few people who are in the visionary pioneer stage. Very few people are in the visionary pioneer stage. But in order to get to the visionary pioneer stage, you have to pass through the foundation into the cultivator, into that stage. Only masters get to be in the visionary. Literally, only masters get to be in the foundation stage. So when you're looking at foundation, you are looking at building that base. Now, your base is made up of your origin, and it's made up of your predecessors. This is your ledger line. This is your sequence. It is 100% composed of just pure origin and your predecessors. Now you are going, this is what I love. This is the most gorgeous thing. Thank you, Darwin. This is the most gorgeous thing in the entire fucking world. You are going to cherry pick genetically, your brain, your body, your beautiful DNA cherry picks the best of the best. It cherry picks the best of the best. We talked about this yesterday with parenting and origin, and you are not the summation of your parents. Not at all. You are the best of both of your parents. You are better than both of your parents genetically, DNA wise. Like, you are literally the best of both of your parents. Your mom is A, your dad is B. You are A and B plus synergy. You are better than your parents genetically. Everything. Now, your parents are one little factor in this massive line of succession. I love the word succession. Your succession line is composed of 100% all of your predecessors, including the origin. Your origin is your heritage. Your predecessors are all the successors of the origin thereafter. And you are the summation of the best of each and every one of them. Oh, you are armored to the fucking tooth to do anything you want to do. Once you know who your predecessors are, you are the summation of the best of them. You have a criminal in your family? Well, guess what? That doesn't go on in evolution. That gets dropped, which means just because you have a criminal in your past doesn't mean it's going to go on to you. That's your choice. In fact, evolution says it won't go on to you because that is a faulty, destroyed, mutated, that is a weaker garbage thing. It's not going to pass on. Why can't I do the science terms right now? Why is my science failing me? Why can't I say the science words? Where are the science words for this? Do I not have it in my brain? Is that why? Why can't I use basic common science words for this process? This is very, very upsetting to me. You need to read Darwin's Origin of Species and Woman. I don't know what that woman's name is. Let me take a look here. Let me see here. This book is absolutely gorgeous. Woman, the biology. No, I'm not finding it. I'm going to have to really dig deep on this book because I cannot remember it. My ex kept the majority of my books, and I'm like, damn it. Oh, so I have a lot of books that are not here, and I'm just like, my library. He kept my library. Okay, so I'm all right. I'm all right. I just, it's okay. So yeah, this is basic biology. This is biology. This is math. Like, you have math and biology on your side like you would not believe. And that's really it, is you have math and biology on your side on a fucking level. Dude, like, you are armed to the teeth for being fucking amazing. You just don't know how to use it because you don't know the algorithm. That's it. That's all this is. It's so easy. Like, there is so much societal garbage. That's bullshit because society was built on bullshit. And it's like, oh my God, please throw out the societal bullshit. Like, oh, I fucking hate societal bullshit. So it's so understanding your succession and understanding the correct sequence of where you are with, this is my relativity to my sequence. That's it. You need to know your relativity to your sequence. You need to know your relativity to your sequence. Like, that's everything. I'm gonna write it down here. This is your relativity to your sequence. And understanding where you are in your lineup. This is everything. This is everything. I'm gonna go ahead and like write more notes here. Da 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 da. All right, let me get right here. Okay. All right, so part 2. Yeah, we're going to go on to this with relativity to your sequence. This is vital. So the first thing you need to know, we talked about this yesterday, the first thing you need to know is your heritage. Your heritage is everything. And I'm not going to cover that again. It's all in yesterday's video, but you have your heritage. And then you're going to have, and that is your origin. That is your origin. And then you're going to have the best of all of your predecessors. Because biology says so. What is it called? Oh, survival of the fittest. That's all it was. That's it. Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. That, like, do I need to say anything else? The fittest. And the fittest is what evolves, not the shittiest. I'm going to say that. Not the shittiest. There you go. Survival of the fittest, not the shittiest. You did not inherit your parents' shit. Darwin won't let you. Biology says, yeah, no. We want the best of the best. And killing people, being a mass murderer in your past, yeah, no, that's not going to go on. No, that is your problem. And this is why I hate the concept of ancestral trauma. Darwin says no. You have confused your reflector with your projector again. Darwin in biology says, yeah, that's fucking bullshit. You do not have trauma passed from your ancestors. We would be extinct if that were the case. We would never, that doesn't, biology, that's such nonsense. There is nothing more nonsensical than the concept of, okay, I'm just going to break it down with the science. This is what it is. This is your projector and your reflector. This is it right here. I grew up a slave, so I understand what it feels like to have my freedom taken away from me and lacking the power of choice. So when I read about the Irish slaves and their slavery, because it's my heritage, I also relate to my relatives by, oh yeah, I understand that. So now I have empathy for which is not really empathy, it's projection. So now I project my own comprehension of slavery onto my relatives, which is the Irish ancestral slave line that happened in the 16th century. And now I relate so deeply to that I internalize it because I have confused my reflector with my projector. As a result, I feel what they are feeling because I have displaced my own story inside of them. This is called a projection, where I have displaced my own story inside of their lives because I have not grounded myself in my own story. That's what's going on. So now I overfeel what they're feeling when in fact they're not feeling anything at all because they've passed on. When they do carry on and they come over, they do not carry that energy with them because that's not how it works. Physics doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I have memory from my past lives, but I have memory of my own life, but I don't feel what I felt then because I correct the logical code. When you correct the logical code, you're no longer there. But my logical code was me not resolving my logical code in this life. So that when I remembered all the shit that happened to me way back when, it wasn't connecting because there was no logical code for it. That was already processed properly way back then. Again, it's that double projection. So instead of just correcting the logical code, and keeping your story in your own story so that you did not throw and project yourself all over the place with a lack of mental discipline, you just resolve the logic, you fix it, and then you forget about it. And yes, you forget about it. After you've healed, you forget about the trauma. And now you have your own relativity with your own story in your own place, and you're okay. And now you can hear other people's story, and you go, you know what? I don't want to hear it because it's really fucking horrible. And it's really fucking horrible. I don't want to hear about your shit any more than you want to hear about my horrible shit. And this is... Do you have memory of your past? Absolutely. Do you have memories that don't belong to you? Yes, absolutely. But can you feel them? Well, why are you putting yourself in that story? Why would you put yourself in that story? Discipline your goddamn story. Stay in your own story. And this is can you project yourself into that story? Yes, you absolutely can. But why are you choosing to? Because you don't know how. Okay, so you really need to learn the discipline of not projecting yourself into other people's stories without discipline or control. You have no self-control. That's the problem. You have no self-control. So without your discipline, you're throwing yourself into other people's story. This isn't exactly. Imagine you having the ability to time travel without any control or discipline over your ability to time travel. Boy, that is exactly what this is. That is exactly it. You are time traveling without any control or discipline over your time traveling. That is projection. Oh, I think I can finally explain all of this. When I started watching Umbrella Academy last night, and I'm watching number 5, and I'm going, that's what I do. That's exactly how I do it. It's a projection. You're projecting yourself. He said it exactly. He explained it. He's like, you just project yourself into the future, and then you're there. Yeah, that's it. That's it exactly. It's time travel. Time travel and projection are the same thing. They're identical. So you're time traveling without any discipline. You have a time machine in your brain and you're just going all over the place because you're undisciplined. You're sloppy. That's the problem. You're not schooled. That is the only problem. So were your ancestors enslaved? Yes. But why are you time traveling there? That's what I've been trying to say to me. I'm like, why are you choosing to try to? Well, you're not choosing it. You're just that sloppy with your discipline because you haven't been trained. You need to be trained like yesterday. That's the problem. It's not a question of whether or not it was real. Yeah, it's real. Yes, it did happen. Can you feel it? Well, yeah. Don't go there. Stop fucking time traveling to World War II. Why would you do that? You can look at it without going there. Why would you go there? Like, I can see shit happening in my past. Why would I go there? The only time you would go there is when you need to correct the logical code. But you don't need to go there to correct the logical code. You don't need to go there to correct the logical code. All you have to do is apply the logic and the math. So you've got two things happening here. Is you've got your story hopping, and I call it story hopping. Story hopping is another word for time travel. I don't like to say time travel because people don't understand what time is in the immaterial plane, so they have no concept. So they're like, oh my God, I feel it. Well, yeah, you're time traveling. You time travel all the time. You're at the literal stages of time traveling, but you're so far behind in your education that you're time traveling without knowing it. You're undisciplined with it. So you're feeling other things that you're not supposed to be feeling because you're time traveling. You've chosen to time travel to a really fucking shitty location. Why are you putting yourself in Auschwitz? Don't fucking do that. Don't fucking do that. I know people who do that. They obsess and they constantly put themselves out. And here's the thing. You use logic to time travel. So every time you talk about your fucking ancestors' problems, you're time traveling there because you don't know how to use logical code without time traveling there. Stop fucking talking about it until you've learned the discipline. There. It's like a bunch of mages walking around going, I'm going to practice magic without any concept of how to use my magic. And now you're in somebody else's story and you're suffering with their story going, why are you putting yourself in Egypt in the 4th century BCE? Why are you doing that? You need to learn how to use this shit first. Physics, logic, math. Do the fucking work first before you go playing with your wands. God damn it. Yeah, there it is. There it is. It's like everyone showed up at Hogwarts and they're all traumatized and they're going, oh my God, the shit I've seen. Are you a time traveler? You're a time traveler, aren't you? Are you hopping and projecting yourself all over history and you're putting yourself in the middle of Hitler's camps? Why the fuck are you doing that? Do you enjoy drama? Like, so that's how I see the world. That's how I see the world. Now, I was doing it too. And then I went, oh, this is time travel. Oh, I'm projecting because I studied fucking physics. So I went, oh, look at that. Psychologists don't know a goddamn thing because they didn't study physics. Study physics. 12-year-olds can do it. When I see a 45-year-old woman, and I do, I see 35 and 45-year-old women fucking around with magic, but God forbid they pick up a book and do 12-year-old physics. And then they're going, oh my God, I'm so traumatized. Stop talking about the fucking past until you learn the fucking discipline. Oh, God. I need a word for this. I have a word for this. I feel like Mrs. McGonagall. Really? I feel like Professor McGonagall. I feel like Professor McGonagall with a bunch of... No, that's exactly... I feel like Professor McGonagall. I feel like Professor McGonagall. Only all these mages are coming in and they're like, I don't understand what I'm doing. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that? Why are you not using your magic responsibly? Why aren't you using your magic responsibly? This is why underage wizardry is not allowed. This is why. This is exactly why. Like, I'm sitting here, Dumbledore, we really need to talk because, we've got a problem. We got all these underage wizards and they're just doing shit with their magic and there's no discipline, there's no structure, and they're putting themselves in Hitler's camps. And then they're going, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? We really need to come up with a rule like no underage wizardry. And it's just, it's not, it's like, so you can understand my frustration. Like, that's where I'm at is, and I've got several people who just messaged me and they're like, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop fucking playing with the magic and goddamn do the science. Science before magic. Science before magic. I think that's all I have to say. Why are you fucking around with magic before the science? Do you think this is cute? Do you know what you're walking into? Magic is just science. It's advanced science. Like advanced. So that's what I see. That's what I see. I see a lot of people who are fucking around with magic before they've done the science. And I'm going, what the fuck are you doing? Look, what are you doing? That's like, I'm going to be a chemist. And you just walk into a lab and start pouring acids together. Are you dumb? What are you doing? You need physics first before you get into the chemistry lab. Goddamn. I'm going to play with nuclear physics before I know anything about science. So I see a world where there's a lot of undisciplined, uneducated, ignorant mages fucking around with things more dangerous than nuclear science without any concept of math and logic. And I'm like, really? There. So yes, I'm Professor McGonagall going, what the fuck is this shit? What the fuck is this shit? Would you transfigure yourself into a pig or a rat or a cat without any kind of science prior to that? You're going to splint yourself. All right. I feel better. So that's it. Magic after science. Science first. There. That's it. That's it right there. And then I see all these mages going, oh, this is the problem. And oh, this is the problem. You're a dumbass. It's really, that's it right there is, and then I see all of the suffering because they're fucking with their magic without any science. And I'm just like, wow. So this is the place where people come to learn science before the magic. That's it right there. This is it right here. We have a cat that's like the epitome of mischievous cat. Like he's the archetype. There's nothing higher than him when it comes to the archetype of mischievous cat. And it's wonderful. He's like, really. All right. Did he do all of this or did I do this?
He did this.
He dumped all the crayons.
And then he sat on it.
The cat played with all the crayons.
And then he ate one.
He ate the. Is he okay?
Yeah,
that has me concerned. That has me concerned.
Stop. He didn't eat one. He had one in his mouth just now.
Okay. We need to look up. Was he eating it just now? He was. Okay. We got it in time. We got it in time. Okay. Yeah, I need to. I mean, they're non-toxic because they give these to infants, but I'm still going to do some research. Okay, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, okay, so apparently we need to keep this out of the reach of the cat.
Eating this now.
He needs it. Can you go get one of his chew toys? I have a cat that acts like a dog. His squeaky toys that he loves. Go get his sloth. This cat has a relationship with his sloth. The sloth is the grossest, and he loves to put it in his water bowl, and then he loves to take it out of his water bowl, and then he loves to lay it around so we step on it. It's disgusting. This is his sloth. Oh yeah. He's like, oh, my sloth. His eyes went like, my sloth. It's great. I love this cat. All right. So that's it. You're time traveling. You are time traveling. You're story hopping without any discipline. You need to work on your logic and your math. Like this is all it is. Everyone needs to just be quiet, go home and do the fucking work. And that's it exactly is, oh, the nonsense. This is why magic needs to be regulated. All right. Yeah, this is where we regulate the magic. All right, so physics. So you have something in your brain, literally a mirror. You have a mirror in your brain. And your mirror is linked to the optic centers, it's your eyesight, and it is also linked very, very much to your, there's one other word here, projector, to your projector. So without understanding the discipline of your mirror, your optic, your projector inside your brain, you're going to be all over the place. You are all over the place. And the only way to get that discipline is by studying 12-year-old physics. Physics for 12-year-olds. Basic physics. You do not need anything more than basic physics. You just need Newton's 12 laws. You need this book. That's it. That's all. It's very, very simple stuff. And once you apply it to your subconscious mind, oh, the world changes. Oh, that's how that works. Oh, there. So, and this is it. You have basic physics for your brain. You have logic and linguistics for your brain. And then you have literally that mathematical sequence, my mathematical demystified. The mathematics demystified is 100%. That is it right there. That is it right there. Yeah. Basic physics, logic, linguistics, and math. Once you have those 4 studies, your magic just clicks right into place and you're good. Like that does so much to get your discipline. So what you're focusing on is that sequence. And the sequence, let me go over this again. That false logical lie data, you need to clear out the false logic. It's not logic. It's not logic. Let's remove logic from that. It's false data. False data or lie is literally an absence of logic. Like all of this is an absence of logic. False data, gap of logical sequence, and the wrong order. When you talk, you are trying to do math. You are just putting your thoughts in the right order. You need to understand you. Do not project your need to understand you onto others. Others do not need to understand you. They do not. The only ones who need to understand you, here you go. The only ones who need to understand you, see, he's all over the place with his toys now, is your intimate partner. But your intimate partner, like that's it. That's it. You're the only one who needs to understand you is your intimate partner. Like no one else, because you have an intimacy with that partner. And this is it, is we try and put the understanding before the friendship. And it's the friendship is developed with understanding. So you need to scout. You literally need to do a scouting, or this is called vetting. And when you do vetting is when you assess the qualifications of someone understanding you. And in order to do this, you need to see if they are aligned with your sequence. And that's it right there. That is it right there. You need to see if you are aligned with your sequence. So the concept of, well, I need to talk about it. I need to, this is it right here. If you have the urge or the need to collect friends or people, that's the first clue that you've got work to do. That's it right there. Because as soon as the work is done, the need and desire to connect with people goes away. You're seeking an emotional prosthetic. That's what you're doing. When you have this desire to connect with other people, you are seeking an emotional prosthetic instead of doing the work. And as soon as you start looking for emotional connections with people and having that deep need, that's an addiction. That is absolutely dependence. That's a problem. You are not in any kind of a position whatsoever to be looking for friends to plug them in, because you're actually you're a parasite. You are looking for a host. That's what you're doing. And instead of dealing with the work you need to deal with, you are seeking a host for your parasitic behavior. And this is really it, is knowing when you are not in a parasitic mode, understanding the difference between a parasite seeking a host and you are the parasite. because you are seeking an emotional prosthetic for your loneliness. People are not your problem. You not doing your work is the problem. And cutting down all of this distraction, this is all about you just dealing with your own sequence. And once you get that sequence, the whole thing really fills in. It's everything. It's everything. So it's oh, I have this need or this craving. When you have this deep need or craving, it should, that's it right there. That is your first clue that you are in a parasite mode seeking a host. And you are prematurely trying to supplement instead of doing what you need to do. It's a distraction. And it's not, I was isolated for a year. I mean, total isolation, no friends, no socializing for a year. And I put in a law for myself that I was not allowed to talk about my traumas or anything with other people, because that forced me to go inward and do the fucking work. So it became a law, a personal rule of myself of do not talk about your shit. You are not in a I have to be understand mode. No, you are not in a I have to be understood mode. That is not for you. You do not get to be understood until you are done cooking. And trying to be understood while you are in parasitic mode is a deadly combination. You are building something that is contaminated. It's going to fall apart and you're wasting your time. You're not doing the work. It's a distraction. So when you finally get to that point where you realize, oh, I'm in a parasitic mode because I'm seeking it. And here's the thing is you feel that scarcity. The reason why you feel the scarcity is because you have imbalance. You have imbalance because you're not doing the work. And this is it right here is there's the work, there's the science. And this is it. This is it. The world is being punished because they're neglecting science. That's it. You're not doing the science. Because you're not doing the science, you're going to suffer. And you're just going to keep leeching onto other people because you're not doing the science. And it's why are we so averse to doing the science? That's the question. Why are you so averse to doing the goddamn science? What is our aversion with science? Really? I did not have an aversion to science. Why does science scare people? I don't understand it. I don't understand this at all about the human race. I just don't. I do not understand the aversion to science. I really do not understand it. I think this is why I struggle teaching it. I think this is why I struggle talking about it. I think this is why I struggle with everything about it. I don't understand why the world has such a problem with science. Who told you it was hard? And the only reason why anything is hard, is because you don't know the math. You don't have the fucking science. The reason why science is hard is because you don't have the science for science. It's like Star Trek. I wanted to watch Star Trek, but I couldn't find the beginning. And there was Star Trek all over the place. And I'm like, where the fuck is the beginning? I needed the sequence. Now, as soon as I had the sequence, oh, I did it. I was a Trekkie. It was so funny because I was a Trekkie before I started. I knew it. I'm like, oh, I'm a Trekkie. What have you watched? Nothing. I can't find the sequence, but I'm a Trekkie. I know it. I can feel it. I'm a Trekkie. Was he chewing on this?
No, I'm cleaning.
Oh, you're cleaning. Thank you.
Chewing on it.
She tosses a wrapper on my, and I'm like, what? So, and that's it exactly, is you have to have the sequence. Once you have the sequence, everything is fine. At what point should we learn the sequence? I am a firm believer that you should be learning the sequence at 5, and then you learn it at 12. Like you start kindergarten. Everything in life is about a sequence. You have to know the sequence. If you don't have the sequence, life's gonna be hard. So we've got to teach you the sequence. It's an algorithm, which is a really cool word for the science of sequence. Oh, that's it. Another word for the science of sequence is logic. The science of sequence. Once you understand the science of sequence, you can plug it in and everything makes sense. because you're doing it in the right order. You need the order. Order is the sequence. But the only thing that should have order is the sequence. Everything else can be chaotic, but the sequence must have order. There you go. That's it. That's it. The sequence is the order. That is it. That is it. I'm trying to figure out control's relativity to this, and I can't figure it out yet. That's coming. But the order is the sequence. And everything else can be chaotic. But this is it right here, is when our relationship to chaos, disorganization, control. I really hate the word control, because I think it's a misnomer. If I really did, I'm going to follow my bones. I'm going to follow my bones. So there's bone following, and then there's exploratory dialogue. This is the sequence. This is the sequence. And then you have literal name and comprehension. And this is it. So I'm going to follow my bones. And when I follow my bones, it tells me that control is seeking the order. I believe that control is seeking the order without having any idea what you're doing. But that's really what you're doing, is you are seeking the order. That's it right there. Follow your bones. Follow your bones. But understand that your bones are only stage one of a sequence. You're not even out of the gate. If you're all about following your bones, okay, follow your bones. But that's stage one. You got to move into stage two. Stage two is exploratory dialogue. That is when you are sculpting your comprehension. Now, this right here is where you're going to need science. Because if you don't have linguistics, you're not going to be able to do this. If you don't have logic, you're not going to be able to do any of this. Linguistics and science is what you need for exploratory dialogue. If you can't get this right, you will never go on to the third stage, which is comprehension. And guess what? There's a lot of people who are not going on to comprehension. This is where placeholders are being confused. People are adding placeholders, and it's shit science. It's a whole bunch of magic people trying to do magic without any science. Which is like, I'm going to build a bomb, but I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. You're fucking around with nuclear science. What are you doing? You are magic. Like, I really want you to wrap your head around this. There's nuclear physics, and then there's magic, which is advanced nuclear physics. Do you really think nature's going to let you have this without fucking science? I mean, think about it. If you were to take out your logical thought of, I can do magic, at what degree do you think you can do magic? Throw fire? Yeah. Throw fire. Do you know what fire is? Lasers? Lasers from your hands. Why not? It's an actual, you've got the energy inside of you, the discipline of the energy. You are literally an electromagnetic field. You have a projector in your brain. You have a mirror with reflection of capabilities. And you have the ability to cast yourself in other people's stories. At what point do you think you're going to be able to cast fire, mold potions, even put a stopper on death? You think you're going to touch this without physics? Really? Would you hand nuclear physics to a 5-year-old and say, here you go ahead and build this? You better know some fucking chemistry first. But what are you doing with science? So you've got a whole lot of people who decided, I'm going to be a scientist, but fuck science. What are you doing? You do not have the ability, the right, or the natural privilege of touching this shit until and unless. This is where black magic comes from, is hackers of magic hackers. You don't want that. Bad shit fucking happens. Things go nuclear without the fucking science. You can't even discipline your own goddamn mind. What makes you think you're going to be able to do half the shit you want to do? And that's really the reality check that people need. Magic? Yeah, magic is real. But you're walking around going, oh yeah, I can manifest. You really think so? You really think you can change the order of the universe without fucking science? Do you even know the laws of nature? Because that's what physics is. It's the laws of fucking nature. Have you studied the laws of nature? And this is where, like, people are clueless. People are so fucking stupid with this. And it's like, scientists are there. Scientists have got this figured out, but they lack logic. And it shows. Now, fortunately, science has a lot of fail safes. Oh, does she? Mother Nature makes so. So even though there's fail safes, and even though they don't have the logic, and you can see the gaps in a lot of stuff that's going on, okay, they've got so many fail safes that they can't progress until they get it right. So scientists are harmless to an extent. They need some ethics in some places, a lot of ethics in some places. But again, there are things that they're going to be chasing the wrong hair, and they're chasing the red herrings in a lot of places. In other places, they've got it figured out, but they're going to be cut off at a certain point because they have no ethics, and because, well, some of them have no ethics. There's those quantifiers again, and then you're going to have other places where they're absolutely cut off. So they can only get so far unless and until, and once, if you're really fucking serious about this shit, then science is the only path. And that's really what this comes down to. If you want to get serious about this, your only path is science. Like, end of the road for you. There's no putting math or magic before the science. And until you do that, you've got to understand the sequence. Until you do that, you have to understand the entire sequence of education. So understanding the magnitude, the importance of this sequence is everything. Your mind doesn't even work properly without the proper proper sequence. It won't work properly. It doesn't work properly, which is why there's so many mental illness going on, is because people have neglected the sequence that much. So, the sequence. In my next video, I am going to be diving deep into the sequence, like all of what it is, everything. And I got to figure out how to not be so frustrated and annoyed with a bunch of mages who refuse science. Science before magic, like science. But seriously, what is the aversion we have to science? Like, what is that? Why are people so, like, averse to science? I don't understand it. It's something I'm never going to get over, is I don't understand why people have such a problem with science. I believe it's the smear campaign from the propaganda that the church started. I think it's left over from the smear campaign. And then you have, I think that's it. I think it's the propaganda from religion. And it's definitely the shit education fucking up your sequence. And then I believe it's education trauma. I really think it's the unspoken education trauma that we all underwent when we were in high school. We had you're going to fucking fail. Let's talk about this. You're going to fail. And you have to learn this or you'll fail in a time period. So you've got this urgency with this threat of failure. Oh, let's talk about the psychology of this. Threat of failure with a time bomb of urgency, and then you're going to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life. Like, remember that? Welcome to the 80s educational system. Remember that? Threat of failure, urgency with massive... It felt like, did anyone else have this? It felt like I was trying to defuse a nuclear bomb with a timer binking down to 2 minutes. That was my educational experience with the U.S. school system. And yeah, that was before I found Plato. That's actually what made me go, fuck you, shit. I need to go find actual educators. Is because I recognized the threat of failure with a time bomb and then parental disappointment. Can we talk about the time bomb and the trauma of this combination? Threat of failure, time bomb with urgency, with parental disappointment. Like, is anyone talking about this? Because this is real trauma. And they do this to children from 2nd grade to 12th grade. And it's expected. And then there is the punishment, which is not psychologically safe. And we wonder why we have a whole lot of people who have a problem with skill development skill development. And we have a whole lot of people with a problem of, oh, I must have a learning disability. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have education trauma. Call it for what it is. It's education trauma. And science was the most advanced, way above everything else, but they couldn't even do the foundation right. The foundation of education is art. And then, yes. My daughter just stopped dead like, what? The foundation of education is art. Art is the foundation of learning. You don't do art, you're not developing a strong foundation. Math and science is art. Good fucking God, the dumbest thing that we ever did was the 1990s with, let's cut the art department. You mean let's cut the actual science in real life art department? That art department, science in real life, the learn how to do science in real life, you cut that? Oh God, the dumbest thing, the abomination that is the educational system. That's not education. That was a trauma school. That's what that was. That was fucking trauma school. I really hope people take these words and go, oh my God, this is what happened to me. Yes, these are the names. These are the names. This is the logical comprehension you need to plug it into your life to go, oh my God, I understand now. Yes, this is logical comprehension. This is exactly what it is. That's why when you hear something that's correct, you have relief, because relief is logic. Relief is logic. That relief that you're looking is logic. Every time you want relief, you're actually looking for logic. That's what it is. It is the logical comprehension, so you can fill in the gaps of your logical comprehension so you can understand. So you need logic so that you can understand, so you can plug it in the right sequence so you know what the fuck happened to you. So what the fuck happened to you? You had educational trauma. That's what you had. You had educational trauma. There's a sequence. Let's go through this. I've never done this. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. This is the sequence. Now I'm going to do another video. And we're going to go through the sequence of what's actually happening to people. This is the trauma sequence. Oh yeah, we're going to go through the trauma sequence next. There you go, your trauma sequence, because that'll give you the names you need to plug all of this in so you can understand what's going on with yourself. And then I'm going to show you the right sequence for comparative so you can understand, oh, so this is what I experienced and this is what I should have experienced. You have two sequences going on. So we're going to cover that next. Thank you so much. May the truth always find you.